Welcome back, everyone. We are going to start this video off by talking about the best cards for balance transfers, and then we're going to get into some of the pros and cons and why a balance transfer might actually be a really negative thing for some people. So let's get started. The first card we are talking about is the Citi Diamond Preferred card. Now, honestly, this card, among most of the balance transfer credit cards, are really boring to review. There really isn't much to talk about. This is also a really good time to apply for a balance transfer credit card because a lot of cards are offering promotional introductory periods. So instead of the standard 18 months of 0% interest, right now you can get 21 months of 0% interest with a lot of different cards, and the Citi Diamond Preferred card is one of them. Saving on interest is always really nice, but if you're someone who owes a lot, having an extra 3 months to pay off interest can save you so much money. So for example, if you're paying $100 a month in interest right now, taking advantage of the extra 3 months can obviously save you over $300. The one downside to the Citi Diamond Preferred card is that their balance transfer fee is 5% or $5, whichever one is greater. So if you're transferring $500, you will pay a 5% balance transfer fee, which comes to $25. If you were only transferring $90, you would pay $5 because 5% of $90 is only $4.50. This is a downside because a lot of balance transfer credit cards do offer a 3% balance transfer fee for the same promotional period of 21 months of 0% interest. So if you took that same $500 and transferred it to a card with a 3% balance transfer fee, you'd only pay $15 versus $25. However, that only saves you $10, and if you're applying for a card that has a 3% balance transfer fee but only has 0% interest for 15 months or 18 months, not having that extra 3 to 6 months of 0% interest can actually hurt you way more than paying an extra $10 would. The Citi Diamond Preferred card also gives you 0% interest for 12 months on any new purchases you make on the card, which I think is just okay. With most regular credit cards, you can get at least 18 months of 0% interest, and a lot of the other balance transfer cards we're going to talk about in just a minute offer you 0% interest on any new purchases you make with the card for at least 21 months as well. However, usually when you're opening up a balance transfer credit card, the main goal is to just pay off your debt. So the 0% interest on any new purchases made with that card shouldn't really be something that discourages you from getting the card. After the 0% interest period is over, their variable interest rate is from 18.2% to 28.99%. We used the example of $500 earlier, but most people do balance transfers of balances well over $500. So let's use the example of $2,000. Let's say the 0% interest promotion ends and you still have a balance of over $2,000. You'll end up paying anywhere from $364.80 to $579.80 per year, which is insane. If you have kids, that money can go into a savings fund for them. That money could be spent as a spa day for you to get your mental health together once a year. That money could go towards food for your refrigerator. And keep in mind that's only for 1 year. A lot of people struggle and have these balances, these large balances, for years and years and years. Over the course of 4 years, that adds up to between $1,459.20 to $2,319.20. And don't worry, in just a minute, we're going to go over a few tips to help you avoid overspending and continuing to get into debt. So that is the Citi Diamond Preferred card, 0% interest on balance transfers for 21 months and 0% interest on purchases made with that card for 12 months. The next card we're talking about is the Wells Fargo Reflect card. This card might actually be better than the Citi Diamond Preferred card because you get 0% interest on balance transfers for 21 months, and then you also get 0% interest on purchases made with that card for 21 months as well, which means I wouldn't just say this card is for someone who needs to do a balance transfer. If you are someone who has an emergency and you need to make a big purchase, this card is also going to be great at giving you 0% interest for a very long time to help you kind of pay that off without paying interest, which is going to be really important for your financial health. Their balance transfer fee is 5% or $5, whichever one is greater. And in order to take advantage of the balance transfer promotion, you do need to submit that request within 120 days of opening your account, which if you are applying for this card with the intention of doing a balance transfer, I think that's plenty of time. If you are someone that only has a small amount of debt, they do state that their minimum credit limits are $1,000, which could be really helpful because sometimes when you are doing a balance transfer, you have to worry about your credit limit on your new card being high enough to support the current amount of debt you have, so you can transfer the whole balance to your new card. One small downside to this is that their highest interest rate is 1% higher than that of the Citi Diamond Preferred card. So with the Citi Diamond Preferred card, you would pay up to 28.99% in interest. With the Wells Fargo Reflect card, you would pay up to 29.99% interest per year. And if we're using the example of $2,000, again, that's an extra $20 in interest every single year. The next card we're talking about is the US Bank Visa Platinum card. And this card also offers 0% interest on purchases and balance transfers. The really good thing about this card is that the balance transfer fee is 3%. And if you're someone who is transferring a couple $1,000s, 3% versus 5% makes a huge difference. Their interest rates are between 18.74% and 29.74%. I also like that they have a tool on their website that helps you calculate how much money you'd be saving by doing a balance transfer. It's really user friendly, and I think because this is something that can be overwhelming for a lot of people, that this tool helps provide some clarity. The next card is the Discover It Balance Transfer card. This might be the most exciting balance transfer card because you can earn both cashback and rewards with this card. There are a couple downsides, but let's talk about the card's positive qualities first. Their interest rates are slightly lower than the other cards, sitting at 17.2% and 28.24%. You will earn an unlimited 1% cash back on all purchases and then 5% cash back at different places each quarter. They also match your cash back at the end of your first year, which is really cool. However, the one downside to this is you only get 0% interest on balance transfers and purchases for 15 months. But this doesn't have to be a bad thing. If you're only transferring a small balance that can be paid off within 15 months, or you know for a fact that the balance you are transferring, regardless if it's a high balance or a low balance, you know that you can pay it off within 15 months, then I wouldn't be so discouraged by the shorter promotional period. This card also only has a 3% balance transfer fee, which is a good thing. We still have one more card to talk about, but I think out of all the cards on the list, this one stands out to me the most because you can take that cash back that you're earning on your purchases if you are adding new purchases to the card and use it to pay off your debt. Also, if you are someone who is applying for a card specifically for a balance transfer, but you still want to earn rewards, but you really don't want another card after this one, the Discover It balance transfer card is a great option because after you do pay off that big chunk of debt, you can still use the card normally and earn cash back without having to apply for a whole new card. And with all the other cards, the only perk is that you get 0% interest for 21 months. The next card we're talking about is the Chase Slate Edge card. The Slate Edge card gives you 0% interest for 18 months on purchases and balance transfers. You also have the opportunity to lower your interest rate every single year. Their website states you will automatically be considered for an APR reduction by 2% when you pay on time and spend at least $1,000 on your card by your next account anniversary until your APR reaches the prime rate plus 9.04%. If you are looking to do a balance transfer, it could be because you lack financial discipline and you might even still be struggling with overspending. This card can be really beneficial for someone who does carry balances frequently and is still working on learning how to manage credit cards, because if you are going to be carrying a balance, you want to make sure you're paying the least amount of interest possible, and the Chase Slate Edge card helps make that happen. All of the cards we talked about have no annual fee and also come with the standard credit card benefits like cell phone protection and purchase protection. A lot of the cards also give you free tools to help monitor your credit score. Now let's talk about some of the pros and cons of balance transfers. The biggest pro is that if you are looking to pay down your debt, doing a balance transfer can give you the break you need to finally make real progress in making a dent in your debt and ultimately helping you become debt-free. And if the debt you do have is spread across multiple different cards, you can transfer all those balances to one card and pay it off faster, and it could just be a lot more organized for you. And again, 0% interest on all those balances is going to help you pay off your debt faster. However, the con is this only works if you have addressed the root of the problem and addressed why you got into financial trouble in the first place. Some people need to go to therapy for their bad spending habits. Some people find that credit cards just are not for them. Some people spend because they feel trapped, and spending whatever they want on whatever they want gives them a sense of freedom. It can be a lot of different things, but if you do not fix your spending problem, once that 0% interest ends, you're going to start racking up debt again and you're going to be back to square one with the same problems all over again. I'm grateful to have never been in debt. However, earlier this year, I was spending a lot of money and not really taking the time to look at my finances or create a real budget. I was operating subconsciously when it came to my finances, and that's what a lot of people do, and that's how they end up in trouble. A lot of people spend money subconsciously on little things every single day. But the thing is, those little things add up, especially if you already don't make a ton of money. And while I wasn't in debt, I realized that I didn't really have the money to do the things that I wanted to do which was really confusing because on paper, I should have been able to do the things that I wanted to do. And that's when I looked at my statements and I saw that I was spending money here and here and here, but I really still didn't understand where my money was going. And so I gave myself a weekly spending limit, which helped me to spend money consciously. And suddenly, the little things that I was buying, like Subway cookies, ice cream from McDonald's every other day, I no longer cared for those things or even wanted them because I knew that I had a limit. And once I spent $3 here or $5 here, I knew that would be less money that I had to spend on other things that I wanted throughout the week. That was really helpful for me, but it took me sitting down and actually looking at my finances. And for a lot of people, that's the scariest part because once you look at your finances and you see that huge balance that you have to pay off, it gets really overwhelming and really scary. However, the faster you come up with a plan, the faster that you put every single dollar you make to work, the faster you can be free, the faster you can be where you want financially. But first, you have to stop operating subconsciously if that's something that you are doing. Another con is that there are transfer limits. So let's say you have $10,000 of credit card debt. You could apply for a new balance transfer credit card and only be approved for $5,000. And then you would have to decide, does it make sense for me to transfer $5,000 and now have to make 2 payments? And let's do a little bit of math. I think, obviously it's still going to depend and vary from person to person, but let's just see. So let's say your current interest rate is 22% on a balance of $10,000. That means you are paying $2,200 a year in interest or $183 a month. Let's say you transfer $5,000 and now you're paying 0% interest on half your debt and 22% interest on the other half. You'd go from paying $2,200 a year to $1,100 a year or $183 a month to $91 a month. I think if you are able to pay off the $5,000 within 21 months, it would be worth it because a lot of times when your debt is that much, your minimum payment is really only covering your interest each month, and it's really hard to get out of a cycle like that. So even though you might only be making slow progress, it's still progress. And in the long run, I think it'll be helpful. But this is not financial advice, and you'd have to sit down and see if it makes sense for you. Another con is that a lot of time with balance transfer credit cards, you do need at least good credit. If you are worried about being approved, I would go to the company's website and see if pre-approval is something that they do offer. That way it's not as much of a guessing game and you can have a better idea without getting the hard inquiry. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.